You ever have one of those mornings where the world just decides to shift beneath your feet and suddenly nothing feels right? Not the sky, not the air, not even the beat of your own heart? That was me the day Valor, my old German shepherd, started barking like the world was on fire. He hadn't made a sound like that in years, not since his days as AK-9. And there he was, tail rigid, eyes wild, breaking free of my grip and sprinting straight into the fog-drenched edge of Blackwater Trail. You know how sometimes you just know something is wrong? Not your everyday wrong, but that deep, gnawing, ancient kind of wrong. Yeah, that was it. I stumbled after him, boots sinking into mud left over from a week of rain, heart pounding so hard I thought it might just give out right there in the brush. Valor was digging, wild and desperate, not at a squirrel or some leftover picnic trash, but at something metal, rusted red, caked in years of swamp rot. I saw the oven before I could process it, half buried like it had been swallowed by the earth, and Valor, my steady companion, was growling low, looking at me with those eyes that had seen too much. There was fear in him, and something more, some old loyalty still burning. It had been 3 years since my daughter, Emma, vanished. 3 years of waking up to silence, of wandering the backyard and tracing the fence line where she'd last been seen, of clinging to hope that felt thinner than air. Every morning, Valor would whine and sniff the same patch of dirt, as if waiting for some scent, some sign. But this was different. When the detectives came, I expected them to laugh, to chalk it up to an old dog's failing senses. But instead, they called forensics, roped off the area, and pulled me aside while Valor pressed against my leg, eyes sharp, waiting. Then the blue tarps came, the evidence bags, the remains, tiny bones, velvet scraps. The faint shape of white lace burned onto what was left of a birthday dress. Emma's dress. My mind flipped back, unspooling the last memory I had of her in that dress, her 6th birthday, spinning in the sun, chocolate cake smeared across her cheeks, Valor sitting guard beside the swing set. I thought I'd lost every last trace of her, but here was my dog, clawing the truth out of the dirt when nobody else could. Detective Carl Morrison called me in the next morning. "Sarah, we need you to come down to the station. There's more." Valor came with me, of course. They had found a plastic ring, Emma's, heart-shaped and chipped on one side, buried with the oven. Morrison's team had traced the oven model, a rare red Westinghouse sold to just a handful of folks in the state. The records went back decades, but someone had bought one, in cash, just months before Emma vanished. "You think it was recent?" I asked, but Morrison just shook his head. It had been sealed up tight, meant to stay hidden forever. Back home, Valor wouldn't leave my side, wouldn't eat, wouldn't rest. He started scratching at our own kitchen oven, whining, like there was some link between what was found in the woods and the life we lived inside these 4 walls. I started asking around vintage appliance shops, old repairmen, anyone who might remember that red oven. Finally, at a dusty shop on the edge of town, I got a hit. Sold in April 1998 to a man who paid cash, asked too many questions about seals and temperatures, made the owner uneasy. 5 months before Emma vanished. My hand shook all the way home. Why would anyone want a vintage oven so badly? Unless, well, you know. My mind landed on the one person who had always been obsessed with details, with control, Mark, my ex-husband, the man who swore he'd sell the cabin after our divorce but never did. Valor was restless, pacing, scratching at doors. That night, I found a box in the pantry labeled Emma's Things. I hadn't put it there. I didn't call the cops. I called Mark. He sounded casual, too casual. "Come up to the cabin. I'll be there all day." Like we were planning a Sunday picnic, not reopening the deepest wound of our lives. I didn't tell Morrison, didn't tell my sister. Just loaded Valor in the truck and drove into the Oregon woods, silence pressing in so hard I could barely breathe. The cabin wasn't falling apart like I'd imagined. It looked cared for, freshly stained deck, new windows, empty flower boxes. Mark's old truck was there, engine still warm. He greeted me on the porch, flannel shirt, work gloves tucked in his belt, looking like the man I'd once loved before everything went wrong. Inside, the place was spotless, almost staged. Photos of Emma lined the mantel, photos I didn't remember him having. "Where'd you get these?" I asked. "Made copies. Back when we still talked." The silence stretched too long. He offered coffee. I nodded, barely holding it together. My eyes wandered to the garage door cracked open, a cardboard box in the corner, Westinghouse, GS 1964. The same model. My breath caught. Valor barked, sharp and urgent. Mark appeared in the doorway, mugs in hand. "Why do you have that oven?" I asked, voice shaking. "It's not what you think," he said too quickly, making up some story about broken appliances. Valor growled, stepping between us. I pushed past and out onto the deck, sun slanting through the trees. "Something's not right," I whispered to Valor. He didn't move, just watched the tree lean, alert. That night, Mark grilled steaks while I shivered under a blanket on the porch, Valor pacing between me and the house. After dinner, I walked the hall, past the guest room, to a door I'd barely noticed. The basement. I flicked on the light, musty air, concrete floor, bins lining the walls. At the far end, a pink door, freshly painted. Inside, a child's room, caught with princess sheets, bookshelf, calendar with days marked off in red crayon. I staggered back. Valor whined, ears flat, then footsteps on the stairs. "Mark," voice calm, "you weren't supposed to see that." He told me he'd kept her there, homeschooled her, made her life safe. "You gave up on her." "I saved her." My voice shook. "She was 6. She trusted you." Valor placed himself between us, teeth bared. I grabbed a flashlight, pushed past Mark, and ran, out into the night, through the woods, to my truck, dialing 911 with shaking hands. My ex-husband kept our daughter in his basement. I told the dispatcher, tears blurring the world. Cops met me on the road, took me to the station, Valor riding in the back like a retired officer reporting for duty. Morrison's face was drawn, haunted. "It's worse than we thought," he said. There were toys, drawings, journals. Emma had marked every day she was down there, over 3 years. While I made press statements, while I pleaded for help, she was right there, just out of reach. She died of carbon monoxide poisoning. He drugged her, told her it was a game, hid her in the oven. I nearly collapsed hearing it. It was all planned, down to the seals on the door, the temperature controls. He wanted me to find her like that, to haunt me every time I cooked dinner. That monster. But it was Valor who wouldn't stop, who led us back to her. The press wanted answers. I stood at the podium, Valor at my side. My daughter didn't disappear, she was taken by someone we trusted. I told the world about the dog who never gave up, who remembered when everyone else wanted to forget. He was Emma's hero. Maybe mine, too. Afterward, I dragged our kitchen oven outside. Couldn't look at it the same way again. For days, neighbors left flowers, the press called nonstop, but I stayed inside with Valor, grieving for the life we'd lost and the secrets we'd unearthed. Detectives found evidence Mark had brought Emma back to the house more than once: candy wrappers, journal pages, drawings with details only someone who'd seen the house recently could know. That was the final cruelty, letting her see home but never come inside. Weeks passed. Valor grew tired, moved slower, but he never stopped watching over me. One morning, we visited Emma's favorite spot, a flat rock at the edge of the woods. I brought pancakes and her drawing, laid them out on the stone, whispered, "We didn't forget." Valor rested his head on my leg. He remembered, too. They renamed the town's community center after Emma, a place for families of missing children. Valor's photo hung in the lobby, the dog who never gave up. Kids came to pet him, cry into his fur, listen to his quiet, steady heart. A year later, Valor passed away in his sleep, his head on my lap, at peace. We buried him beside the Princess Stone, surrounded by friends, neighbors, and families who'd found hope because he never stopped searching. So, now I want to hear from you. Do you believe dogs can sense what we can't, see what we miss? Have you ever witnessed an animal refuse to give up on someone they loved? Share your stories below. And if you want more real, emotional journeys like Valor's, don't forget to subscribe, because sometimes the truest heroes have 4 legs and never let go.